So I was just looking way, way, way back, and I'm just curious about how you feel about how you went from there to you worked on the Boston Phoenix way back, and
I
you were
did.
living in Boston or Cambridge, or where were you living then?
I was living first in Jamaica Plain, which is a
Okay.
little neighborhood in Boston. At that time, it was not in the least bit chic. I think it's gotten
Yeah.
much more upscale. My husband at the time was in law school, so we were struggling young folk, and I started at the Boston Phoenix. I then freelanced for a while and then began writing for the Boston Globe Sunday magazine,
Uh,
which
uh,
was an amazing, back
yeah, yeah,
then, Sunday magazines were fantastic.
yeah, sure. Yeah, yeah, yeah. No, it's amazing. I mean, journalism is such a tough road now. I had a book that I have out with President Clinton now, and really the stars of it are the two journalists, and they're idealists. They really want to find out the truth about this mystery. Um, but so you go from there way, way, way back, and now bestsellers and all of that. How does this happen? How does this strike you in terms of where you came from?
It's so interesting. I don't know if you know that I'm publishing a memoir in October. And so I've spent a lot of time. I'll even show it to you. It'll come out
Uh,
October 14th.
Good title.
Um, so I've spent a lot of time thinking about the
Yeah.
arc of my professional life because I started so many of the places where I began don't exist anymore.
Hmm.
The Boston Phoenix is gone. The Globe Sunday magazine is gone.
Hmm.
What happened was I began working on a book early on called Saturday Night. That helped me begin creating a career for myself in books, which have proven to be, in many ways, more durable than certainly the world of weekly journalism, which is
Hmm.
kind of gone.
Yeah.
But I moved to New York in 1986, and I overheard a conversation of somebody saying that the New Yorker was looking for more writers for Talk of the Town. And the New Yorker never looks for writers.
Hmm.
They just don't.
Yeah.
Writers appear on their doorstep.
Like, really? How can that be? Yeah, yeah, yeah.
It was shocking, but it was when there had just been a big change and a new editor. So I marched down to the office with my clips and just crossed every finger on every hand
Hmm.
and held my breath. And lo and behold, they liked my clips. So I began writing Talk of the Town pieces, which I loved. It was
Hmm.
very much my kind of sweet spot of wandering the city, looking for quirky,
Yeah.
oddball, interesting things. And I did it. I would have happily just done Talk of the Town pieces until I went out to do one about a taxi driver who was the king of his African tribe in the United States. And I just was fascinated by his life.
Uh,
So I wrote, that was my first feature piece for The New Yorker.
hmm.
Then a couple of years later, I was doing a story about this odd news item I had come across about a guy arrested with orchids
Mm, mm.
coming out of a state preserve in Florida near Naples. And I thought, what a weird story. Why would somebody steal orchids? Why wouldn't you just go to Trader Joe's and buy them?
Uh-huh, uh-huh, uh-huh.
I decided to do a New Yorker story about it. And the minute I began working on it, I knew it was a book. I
Mhm.
just knew it. I knew that the people involved, the character of the state of Florida, which has such a fascinating history, the idea of this compulsion to collect orchids fascinated me, and that became The Orchid Thief. And that in many ways was sort of my real calling card.
Mhm. And then, I mean, obviously, well, orchid hunters and women bullfighters you've written about, and animals you seem to have a lot of affection for, and library fires and stuff like that. Uh, how do you kind of decide, though? I mean, is it just you just go like, I got to write this? Is it just passion thing, or
It really is passion. And I have to admit, even I know that a lot of these ideas are odd. I mean, when I went into my publisher and I said, "This toothless guy just got arrested in Florida with a
uh,
bunch of orchids that he cut off of trees, and I think it's a book."
hmm
And I knew the reaction was going to be, "That's a very odd story, and also, how does that turn into a book?" So I can appreciate that they don't sound like typical book ideas, but I go strictly with my intuition. If I feel like, God, I really want to learn about this, I feel like that's enough for me. And I know that they don't fall easily in.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Now, have you had the same publisher?
No, I started at Simon and Schuster, then I was at Knopf,
Okay,
then Random House, and now I'm back at Simon and Schuster.
okay.
I've been with John Carp
Uh-huh.
since The Orchid Thief, but at
Just
different publishing houses.
a
Yeah.
good person to be with. That's excellent. And with the publisher, you'll come in, and I really am fascinated by this. I think I can kill it, and it kind of goes like that. And they go, okay, we trust you because you're a very good writer, and you have a fan base, and kind of a little bit of that.
Yeah, I think that it's funny, I just talked about a new book idea to my editor who's just fantastic. And he said, "Look, if you like it, I like it." And I
Mm,
said, "But do you like it?" And he
like,
said, "Well, really, it's if you like it, then
uh
I like it."
huh,
Which is a wonderful privilege, really, as a
yeah.
writer, to feel that you're being trusted to say, "I've got this gut feeling, I think it's really
Now,
interesting."
what was your gut feeling about Joyride? Because that is interesting to me. You know.
It was a couple of things. One is I think during COVID, many of us became very reflective and
hmm
spent a lot of time thinking what's important in our lives, who
Yeah.
do we love, what matters, because
Have we
it
learned?
really it was that kind of time of feeling really down to the very sort of bottom of what matters. So that kind of put me in mind of reflecting on my career.
hmm
And then at that same time, I realized it had been 25 years since I published The Orchid Thief.
hmm
And I felt like, wow, that's a monumental amount of time. And boy, have I traveled a
Uh,
path. It just felt like a moment. I also feel like there's another issue at hand, which is I care so much about the idea that journalism can illuminate
sure.
the world around us. And
Yeah.
at a time where I feel like we're being told to draw inward, to shun strangers, to turn away
Yeah.
from.
I never understand strangers at all. Yeah.
Yeah, and I feel like the book gave me an opportunity because my whole career has been the opposite of that. It's
hmm
been about looking for those people who
Yeah.
don't get written about
hmm
and to sort of bring people into subcultures that they may never otherwise.
I love the title Joyride because it's so unusual with most of the books that people write about themselves, which are sort of
Right.
terror. My
I know. Somebody said something yesterday to me about trauma porn and
uh,
how most memoirs are very traumatic.
yeah, yeah, and we and a lot of people have difficult lives, and but why Joyride? Is it because you kind of feel that it's been that way up to a point?
Well, I certainly, yes. I've had hardships. I've had heartbreak. Um, but I feel so much joy in my work that
Hmm.
that is unabated,
Hmm.
and I've ended up in a place in my life that's incredibly joyful. I'm really happily married. I have a wonderful kid. Even though my profession is kind of under fire, I feel like I still get to do what I care about. So I have a lot to feel joyful about. These aren't the most joyful of times in the world at large, but I feel like I I am trying to explain to people that you can find joy in opening yourself up to curiosity and to the world around you. It's incredibly rewarding.
Yeah, yeah. I wish we could wake up a lot of people to curiosity and looking around and figuring out what makes other people tick and stuff like that, which we don't seem to be doing enough of. Now, I've obviously, primarily been in the area of fiction with kids, for children and for adults. A little bit of nonfiction. I have a book coming out on the Idaho murders at Joyful. Speaking of
Uh,
joyrides, um, do you ever think about fiction?
I think about fiction all the time, and I'm a huge reader of fiction.
Hmm.
I 90% of what I read is fiction. So it feels incredibly important to me.
Hmm.
I Every time I toy with the idea of writing fiction, I
Hmm.
feel like I've found a story that's
Something else. Yeah.
a real story that
Yeah.
is so wonderful and strange that I really wanna tell the real story.
Hmm.
Um, but I
But
guess
the notion of, combining, for example, the library fire, but fictionalizing it, maybe you could get both in that. That'd be kind of interesting. I don't mean literally.
yeah.
Yeah.
Well, right now, I'm adapting the library book for television, so that is an
Huh?
opportunity to kind of
Mm.
fictionalize it, where we've got the whole kind of template of what really happened, but then we're creating characters and storylines that are fictional, and
Mhm.
it's really fun. I mean,
Mhm.
I'm loving it and realizing, "Oh, that's why people love writing fiction," because
People always talk about what happens to the books out there. I can't imagine anybody has a weirder. I think the result was good, but what happened to your orchid book? I mean, oh my
mm,
God. I mean, just, I don't know how you felt about it, but, it's kind of a pretty cool movie, but boy, it's a long way from, yeah.
oh, yeah. Well, when I first read the script, I said, "You people are insane."
Uh-huh,
And I initially said, "You can't use my name. I mean, this is gonna ruin my career, and
uh-huh,
it
uh-huh,
makes me look like I'm sleeping with my subjects, and I'm appearing on a porn site, and using drugs," um, and then I guess my sense of adventure overcame my sense of caution, and
uh-huh.
I said, "Alright." Now I love the movie, and in many ways, I feel like it's truer to the book than a literal
Mhm, mhm.
adaptation of the
Yeah,
book
yeah, 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 yeah,
would have been.
yeah,
And
yeah.
and also it's
Yeah,
such a great
or
movie.
okay, that's an interesting, I hadn't thought of it that way, obviously, but okay. Yeah, 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 but it is fascinating out there in terms of like, "Oh my god, War and Peace, it's gonna be an opera, wow, interesting."
Right. Well, it's very funny, and I feel like I write these things that seem so un-Hollywood, and then I've had, um 3 or 4 things made from my work, which I find so interesting,
Mhm.
because they just don't seem, they're not
Yeah,
typical Hollywood
yeah, no, I
material.
think that kind of project, it's really hard to get those made. Yep,
Yeah,
yep.
very,
The,
and
earlier before we went on the air live here about we both have spent time in the Hudson Valley, and I grew up in Newburgh. I know you like architecture. Have you ever visited Newburgh?
yes,
The architecture there, to me, is fascinating.
yeah.
Uh,
Well, it was such a wealthy town early on, and you've got some, these amazing turn of the century buildings. And I love all architecture. I'm a fan of mid-century modern, but that's something that's much more a California thing.
Hmm.
Um, I love the sort of colonial era, and I don't know Newburgh well,
Well,
honestly.
it was ranked the sixth most violent small town in America, so it's come a long ways from its days as a wealthy. Even when I was growing up, I don't think it was. But the fascinating when I was growing up, it actually was on the cover, I think, of Look magazine, the All American Town. That's
Really?
and then within 10 years, it was this battle zone with gangs and stuff. It's cleaned up somewhat now, but the architecture is amazing. It's
Yeah.
just it's there's just it's stunning. I think. So let me ask you another kind of a question. So yeah, you mentioned you've worked, you've written for the New Yorker, and you've done some stuff with HBO, and you've been a journalist, and you've written novels, and you've been a TV writer. Blah. Blah. Do you find that the medium influences the way you tell a story at all?
Yes, I think so. I think, even within the same medium, writing shorter or longer influences the storytelling. It's I think as you're writing, you have a mental image of your audience, which is really different. Writing a talk of the town piece is different from writing a nonfiction book, and certainly different from working on an HBO show. In each case, you feel like you're talking to someone different. And I
Uh-huh.
think we all do that kind of code switching of I mean, I think everything you write tends to sound like you,
Hmm.
but I think you shift subtly in relation to your audience,
Hmm.
or in relation to your perceived audience.
Hmm.
This sense of, I mean, I often think somebody reading a talk of the town piece is a little impatient, so I've got to talk a
Uh-huh.
little faster and keep it moving quickly because they're only interested in reading a short piece. And someone settling down to watch How To with John Wilson on HBO is open to the oddest, quirkiest, most
Hmm.
eccentric thing, and so they're a very generous audience.
Hmm.
It's a completely different way
Yeah.
of talking.
I'm not even sure where I come out on that myself. I don't know that I do. I think I just kind of write shit. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
I mean, one of the things I'll say is I pretend there's one person sitting across from me. I don't want them to get up till they finish the story.
yeah.
And I think that's both a strength and a weakness for me because I do want to keep it moving. And sometimes maybe I don't go as deep as I could,
Mhm,
whatever. I
mhm.
actually a book coming out next year with um, um blanking, help me out, with Viola Davis. And I think it's the best thing I've ever done with
Oh,
obviously
wow.
help. And it's just very different because it does have it's dramatic, but it doesn't have any of the sort of thriller tropes in it, which is kind of fun and nice. And yeah, I did an autobiography I did it during COVID, and I wasn't planning to. I just started writing these stories about growing up and stuff. And I think at my age, I think it made me a much better writer because I started paying attention to the sentences again, and gotten
Yeah,
out, which was not a good thing. Uh,
yeah.
so
I agree with you, by the way. I think in the end of at the end of the day, everything I write sounds like me.
uh-huh, uh-huh.
And, there's not an I think you wouldn't feel this sense of great alteration. I
Mhm.
think when I'm writing, though, I have it in my mind. I have the audience in mind,
Uh,
and I probably play to what I perceive their attention span and their kind of openness. But it's still in the end sounds like me.
yeah, yeah.
I
And
guess I agree with you. I
right,
just write shit.
said something about animals. I love the language about animals. make great characters because they don't try to impress you. And I think to some extent, even a lot of your other characters are the same way. Your human characters, they're not
Yeah.
impress you; they're just kind of doing their thing. Uh, uh, uh,
I think that's the advantage, about writing about people. I mean, a lot of the people I've written about don't read The New Yorker and don't
uh,
care about it particularly, and they really are, um, not they have no agenda in
mhm.
talking to me, and that's and certainly with animals, that's very much the case. So, I don't uh, I've also written about people who have a stake in it, an agenda, and their own
Yeah.
reason for wanting to be perceived a certain way. But um, I like most talking to people who don't go, "Oh my God, you write for the New Yorker. Oh, this is how
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
I want to sound smart, or I want to." They're just tolerating me being there,
Uh,
observing them.
yeah. What's that thing where they have the profiles of writers in the Times Book Review, whatever the hell that is? Everybody that does that, they always want to seem really freaking smart and well read.
I know. When they say what books are on your book
Yeah.
stand, and I when I did it some years ago, I thought I'm gonna be honest and
Uh,
say really what's on my book stand, which was, there's like a cookbook and a guide to running faster, and there was
uh-huh.
nothing intellectual on my nightstand. I mean, I read a lot of books that are very challenging and deep and difficult, but
Oh, there you go. There you go.
yeah, but I don't have a stack like this on my bed table of I mean, I'm also reading the New York Post and Page
Uh-huh.
6.
Yeah, yeah. I'm sort of similar in terms of I'm all over it a lot and curious about a lot of things and easily bored is one of the problems. Getting back to the animal thing, I'm actually doing a book now. I do nonfiction things with a friend of mine. We did Walk in My Combat Boots, which Matt Eversman, he was the sergeant who was portrayed in that movie Black Hawk Down. He was, whatever, and he's interesting. And our mission in that thing was at the end of it that people who had been in combat would say, Eversman and Patterson got it right. Because we just did these interviews and then we would turn them into these 4, 5, 6 page in which you get a
Oh,
sense
wow.
combat person and one or two of their stories. Then we did ER nurses and which was stunning. But we're doing one now in the animal area on veterinarians, and that's
Oh my god. Can
fascinating
I
because
can I work on it with you?
I think we're close now. I think we've done I don't know almost 140 interviews.
Wow.
We'll
I'm a little obsessed with veterinarians.
Are you? Yeah, yeah. Well, there's so many different kinds and so many different kinds of animals, and what they have to do, and how if you're dealing with horses, or you're dealing with mountain lions, or your little puppy, or whatever the heck it is. Uh,
Yeah, I remember when, I had a dramatic, I used to have chickens when I lived in the Hudson Valley, and one of my chickens got sick, and I took her to my vet who said, "Look, and I'm mostly a dog and cat vet, and I
yeah. Well,
really don't know anything
take.
about chickens." And I had to find an avian specialist.
Uh huh.
I thought, and when I called a big chicken farm, a commercial farm near me, and I said, "I've got a chicken that's sick," and they said, "Well, just kill it." And I
Yeah.
thought, "Okay, all right, I need."
Yeah.
I thought I'm gonna have trouble with this, and eventually, unfortunately, I had to euthanize her because she did have this neurological disease. But people thought I was insane, and
Yeah. I
but
have a
also,
like that in terms of the number of pets. She had these couple of pet rat. You know how people have that little thing in the door where the cat and a dog can get in and
yeah.
out. He had it for her rabbits, and the
Oh,
and then they would live in the house during the day, and at night she'd make them go out, whatever. And she's had geese and a lot of other and strange things in her house to live. But that's her style, and that's cool.
yeah. I did a really interesting story at the beginning of COVID. At the same time COVID was raging through the world, there was a virus killing rabbits all over the world. It also originated in China, and there was a lot of worry that it was gonna move from domestic rabbits to wild rabbits, which are the main food for all sorts of other predators.
Hmm.
And so I did a deep dive into the world of rabbits, which I'm telling you, it
Uh-huh.
was fascinating. It
Uh-huh.
was so interesting.
Yeah.
And,
Yeah.
rabbits are one of the weirdest animals because they're not considered livestock, but they're not really considered pets.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
So, and it's the only meat you can buy that the USDA doesn't inspect
Oh,
because
okay.
it's not considered livestock.
Oh, that's kind of
So,
all right. What was that wonderful fantasy book with the rabbits and the
a Watership Down?
yeah, 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 yeah. Yeah, I always loved that.
Yeah.
Really cool. Yeah,
Oh,
anyway.
it was beautiful. And it made me appreciate rabbits. I feel like I had not.
Yeah. Well, that's with so many things, though. People just don't. I mean, as they said, the series that I did with Matt, and the mission is always like, all right, you think you understand ER nurses, but you really don't.
Yeah,
But at the end of this, you kind of will a lot better than you did before. Or teachers. We have one coming out on teachers, and poor teachers. I mean, they're getting attacked from the right. They're getting attacked from the left. Everybody's telling them how to do their jobs. The kids are more unruly in a lot of places.
yeah.
Adults are more troubles. It's sort of oh my god, it's so hard. Yeah, so it's an interesting area. And my mother was a teacher for like 50 years, so I have
Well, that was a lot of what I was trying to do with the library book. I
yeah,
thought, nobody really knows what librarians do.
right,
They think they just say to people, "Be quiet," but in
yeah,
fact, they do so many other things, and their day-to-day life is so different. And to me, it was fascinating to say, I just want to learn what this world is like because it's on one hand so familiar to me. Everyone knows libraries, but I had never really looked closely to
yeah,
see how do they function and what do people do who work there.
yeah,
And, discovering that it's this like a complex machine that is operating 24 hours a day, and it's really quite marvelous.
yeah. And they're taking a lot of heat too, which is insane.
Yeah.
Oh, what books do you?
It-
Oh my God, you're a bad person. What? What do you mean I'm a bad? I'm a librarian. Leave me alone.
I know. I mean, they really are the sort of front line on a lot of um, social interface, providing
Yeah,
people with books who need that book. And sometimes it's about something really sensitive. And I think librarians are heroic. I really do.
it's just let people do what they do. It's okay. I did Mel Robbins a week or so ago, and that Let Them book that she has. Just
Yeah.
let them. They're going to think what they're going to think. Just leave people alone within reason.
Yeah. Yeah.
Every once in a while, how to be a Nazi at 10. Let's get that out of the libraries.
Yeah. There
Hey,
are a few.
yeah, you know,
There are a few books that I do feel like maybe put them as a special request as
yeah,
opposed to on the shelf in general circulation. But it was really interesting to see how the library has changed and evolved over time and made accessible
yeah,
information that people need.
yeah, yeah. And it's certainly not about shh anymore. It's
Right. No, in fact, I think there's a kind
live.
of
Yeah,
they like the feeling that people are there and engaged, and you're not going to go in with a bullhorn or carry on phone calls, but it's not this sanctum that has to be absolutely silent.
yeah, 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 yeah. All right, I think we're out of time. This has been great. I love this. It's a lot of fun. I'm really looking forward to Joyride. When does the Joyride come out again?
It comes out October 14th,
Okay, okay, all right.
which feels very soon. It's already
Pretty
you
soon.
can Yeah, you can pre-order it already, which
Okay,
is, of course, every writer will tell you that's a wonderful thing. if you can pre-order a book, but I'm really excited. Can I show you the cover again?
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
There you
Oh,
go.
yeah. That's great.
It's I think it's beautiful, and, thank you so much for
No, thank
inviting
you.
me to
Thank you.
chat with
Bye.
you.
Yeah.
It
Thanks.
was fantastic. Thank you. Bye, everyone.
Bye.